I came here to chew bubblegum and talk about the horror film They Live. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dancing on the verge, anyone can love a pretty little mansion. But could you love a haunted house?
Do not question authority. Obey.
They Live, written and directed by John Carpenter, was released on November 4th, 1988, making it 35 years ago this month. This isn't just a film about aliens living amongst us. The monsters are actually the capitalist class. That's tight. Based on the short story 8 o'clock in the morning by Ray Nelson, the film's plot deals with an out-of-work blue-collar drifter who discovers that the ruling rich class actually are aliens from outer space who have concealed their appearance and are manipulating humans to accept the status quo with subliminal messages transmitted via the mass media. With the help of another fellow worker man named Frank, played by the awesome Keith David, and an underground group of human rebels, the no-name drifter, called John Nada in the end credits, tries to thwart the extraterrestrials' plan and expose their lies to the world. One would classify it as a science fiction horror movie, but according to John Carpenter, it wasn't fiction at all. You see, They Live came out in the ending days of the Ronald Reagan presidency. The economic policy that Reagan advocated for, aka Reaganomics, was pretty beneficial to the rich people, not so much for working people. Reaganomics, aka the free market economy, believes in little government input and little to no regulation. It's the belief that business owners should be allowed to do whatever needs to be done in order to increase their bottom line. It's also the belief that as the rich get richer, their wealth will trickle down to the rest of us because, rich people are so giving. They wouldn't dare hoard all that money for themselves. But they did, and they do. And just like in the time of They Live's premiere, we have the rich getting richer while the poor get poorer. As Carpenter mentioned in a 2015 interview with Yahoo News, They Live is a documentary. It's not science fiction. When it comes to They Live, the heart of the film is found in its characters and its messaging. Carpenter used John Nada, played by Roddy Piper, and Frank to symbolize the everyday working man. The two are down on their luck in Los Angeles, trying to find work due to the factories in their own cities closing up and skipping town. Frank and Nada live in a homeless tent area because they can't afford to pay rent. Frank sends money back home to his wife and kids, whom he had to leave behind in order to find work. The two characters have a few conversations in the film that touch on the real-life hardships working people face when businesses are allowed to lay off workers with no accountability or liability. Subliminal messages such as marry and reproduce, consume, no imagination, and money is your god are all over billboards and magazines. Nada gets his hands on some pretty valuable sunglasses that allow him to see the aliens for what they really are. Along with the subliminal messages they put in the mass media, one could say that Nada is awoken to the real dangers of oppression. He awoken. He became woke. He got woke. Woke. Get it? It's a super political film interwoven with action and humor. Carpenter shows that in a capitalist society, everything is commodified and consumed, including our labor and even our relationships. The messaging of They Live is just as relevant today as it was when it first hit theaters. Some may claim that They Live was just a movie about aliens, and reading too deep into it weighs it down with woke agenda points, but that just isn't the case. Like many great horror, dark fantasy, and sci-fi classics, there's usually some meaning in the themes presented. Just like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, a heaping hand of good horror makes the socio-political musings easier to take in. A film like Carpenter's reminds us that the monsters that we've been dealing with aren't really new at all, but part of a long history of exploitation and division. It's a monster that's been with us for some time. But characters like Nada and Frank symbolize the human spirit of a working class not taking the exploitation laying down.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Stay creepy out there and stay awake. And make sure to watch They Live if you haven't already.